Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining again this week. A regular Tuesday show at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Today being September 30th, last day of September, finishing up the third quarter, heading into the fourth quarter. But we come in live every week for the last 5 years, every Tuesday. And let me switch from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. Right now it's Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, but once a week at least coming live to take your questions on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok about U.S. immigration law. Give a general idea what's going on, not intended as individual legal guidance. You got to talk privately with an attorney for something like that. There's too many facts you have to know. We take your questions, give you a general understanding of what's going on because it can be very confusing and stressful process to go through. And so we've helped a lot of people, hundreds, thousands, not thousand plus people in this process at the JQK Immigration Law Firm. Oh, God willing, we'll do another thousand more after that. But if you did want to contact us to schedule a consultation, you could also start shooting your questions out here generally. But the website to go to for scheduling a consultation is jqklaw.com/contact. All the information there so you know about your case, what's going on, and we'll follow up with you about the details of scheduling a private video consultation with us. But we have two guides. They're both like the ultimate guides. One's called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide for those planning to get married or engaged, want to go through that process. The free guide, 50 plus pages there, is at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And then if you're interested in citizenship, you've been a green card holder, you want to get citizenship, we have a really good guide for you there, two best one out there, and it's free. Go to our website, jqklaw.com/citizenship, and put your info there, and you'll get it emailed to you so you have it there. Having said all that, let's jump. We got our first question. Omer asks, I'm laid off and N400 is pending. Should I go for unemployment? I know I can, but should I go for it? So unemployment insurance, something you paid into, you're allowed to get it. Even with the changes under Trump, it doesn't mean it's a negative. Unemployment insurance is something you do. So it's not negative at all unless the officer just makes a mistake. But now under the totality of the circumstances, they're going to look. So if you've been working or not working, you're allowed to get unemployment insurance. But if you had a job and laid off, that kind of stuff happens. But I had been using like public benefits in an unjust way or illegal way or something like that. Unemployment insurance is not like that. So overall, I wouldn't say stop you from doing that. That itself is not a problem. But if you're worried about other stuff by your history, you got to take a look at it. But getting unemployment insurance is something you're entitled to. It would be incorrect. Now, it's not that they wouldn't do incorrect stuff, but unlikely for them to hassle you about insurance like that, because that's something you pay into as part of your employment. Dalonga asks, I had my 2-year green card renewed with a 10-year after condition removed. My husband is filing. You don't finish your questions there, but I'm assuming divorce. Okay. Should I go ahead and apply for my citizenship after 3 years or wait 5 years? So the thing about filing for citizenship after 3 years, if you've been married with a U.S. citizen, is that at the time of filing, you have to be living together. So potentially, if he's going to file for divorce, you're not living together. But the second requirement is that, let's say you're living together and he files for divorce and you guys live separately, that's okay, even though some lawyers and people at the government make a mistake thinking it's not. But your divorce cannot be finalized until after you get your oath ceremony and your naturalization certificate. So in that case, you got to live together until the time of filing the F-400 and have evidence of that. Once the Form F-400 application for citizenship is pending, you could live separately, but you cannot finalize your divorce until you're a citizen. So timing that all right, and who knows how long getting citizenship is going to take, and the officers might not believe that you were living together at the time of filing, so the evidence that. So there's some issues there. The easier way would be just do the 5-year green card if you don't want to deal with that. And secondly, they can still look into your relationship at the time of citizenship to make sure it was a real relationship because you're getting divorced. So you want to keep documentation of what happened as much as possible. If you're going through the divorce process, you might have been going through couples counseling. Keep those records. Make sure that information in your divorce filing and the affidavits don't say anything that's not correct about your relationship, like if say it was fake or you're not living together, stuff like that. That would be considered fraud in your I-75 with removal of conditions. So there's a lot of things we got to be watchful for, and you might not even thought about this kind of stuff that I'm saying. And that's what a good immigration attorney could be all about, to help and elucidate this stuff, focus on it, see what's going on, to make sure you're doing things right. And obviously, if there's fraud involved, that's a problem. Can't help with that. But I don't think that's the case here. There's just relationships sometimes don't work out, especially because the I-7 filing process takes so long. But be careful. This stuff still doable. Do the 5-year, maybe 3-year, but there's risk to getting denied on that, and back up your relationship. Maria asks, hello, I would like to know if a citizen child over 21 can apply for a parent under I-130, then I-485 means 245I. Can you tell me the process? Well, I tell you the process is just too much, but if you are qualifying for 245I, they could do that. But we got to know their finances good, how you enter the United States. Did you like claim to be a citizen to enter? Have you done false claim to citizenship to work? What kind of work you've been doing? Have you had any criminal history? There's just too much stuff we got to get into. But if 245I applies to you and you have a U.S. citizen child, then probably you could do adjustment of status in that way. But there's other things we have to get into. That's not the place here. Please schedule a consultation, jqqlaw.com/contacts, jqqlaw.com/contact. Jordani 8350, good to see us. John, it's been a minute. Are there more easy for approving 2-year green card due to the limited evidence at first because of no EAD and SSN for initial filing? No, for approving 2-year green card is limited. No, it's pretty much all the same. Nothing has changed I've seen. Path Divergence says, what kind of wait times are you seeing after naturalization interviews and supervisor review? There's no average wait time. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's months. Maria says, thanks, you're welcome. Murad asks, sir, how likely is the I-751 waiver, short time knowing each other's marriage and then divorce over 10 months with all the necessary proofs? It's not about being likely or not. You have to have the evidence and back up your stuff and go. Don't think about it in terms of likelihood. It's something, if you got to do it. So it's not about being likely. It's about how well your evidence is and how it's portrayed and presented to the government, and how well you do at an interview if they ask for an in-person interview. So don't think about likelihood. A lot of people do ask me, what are the chances of this, chances of that? It's 50-50. Either happens or it doesn't happen. And immigration law, for most cases, that's not. What should I do? Well, we don't handle asylum cases, but you got to know that they just update a system where you have to pay a maintenance fee, like $100 a year. So make sure you pay attention to that. You update your addresses and everything like that. But talk with the immigration attorney private that does asylum, so they're prepared when they do schedule an interview. They can prep you, and they got to go over your application. If you send a bad application in right now, they'll potentially deny you and try to deport you. So the game has changed. So have a good asylum attorney spend time with you, pay the fee to update your address, all that kind of stuff. But our office doesn't do asylum, so I wouldn't recommend contacting me, but definitely contact the colleagues that do. Jordan follows up, if someone files for I-130 and I-485 while on a visitor visa and it expires before approval, how will they get legal stay? So it's not legal stay, but historically allow you stay in the U.S. Pending a decision on the case. If it's approved, then you get a green card. And then if it's denied, they might try to deport you. Under Trump administration, they'll try to, even before your interview and decision is made, they might try to pick you up and send you to immigration court. That is rarely happening, but it's never happened. I mean, it's almost never happened before. Now it's like somewhat of a regular occurrence, more and more. It's not regular yet, but it still happens. So it's very risky. So for the most part, we don't like when people are here and they file adjustment of status on tourist visa, but it does happen, and we do get approvals on it. But we can't recommend anyone do that. But if at a certain point you're already here and it's too hard to leave and come back, and you just want to give it a shot, most of the time it's approved, but there's risk to it if something like that happening. Talk Purple asks, should a red light camera ticket be reported on I-485? Yeah, I mean, if you get it, we give all auto driving tickets. So if you got a parking ticket for parking in a red zone or something like that, I don't say those. But if you got a ticket like that, we report it, and you want to have evidence that it was paid for and stuff like that as well. Chillred says, what are the chances of getting cancellation or removal if the person is in ICE custody? So the question about chances, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't mean anything, especially as I don't know anything about your case. So some people might have higher chances because they have good situations. Some people don't. So it really depends on your case, but we don't handle cases in ICE custody, cancellation, removal. So contact an attorney private to review your case. And a pending DV case. So it's not good. Let's put it that way. But I don't know. I don't handle those cases. Nafisi says, any updates for Iranian travel ban? Can I apply for O1 visa right now? No, unless there's an exceptional case where it's in the government interest, U.S. government interest, which is very unlikely, they're not going to approve an O1 visa for Iranian citizen. And that only has a passport for Iran. Neela Farias, I want to apply again for a tourist visa for my mom who came from Iran. Do you think they'll give her the visa? No, they're not going to. It's like the previous question about the O1 visa. Unless it's in the U.S. national interest, they're not going to issue non-immigrant visas. Only chance you would have is to do a green card case, because there's an exception for parents of U.S. citizens for that. Let me sit up straight. I just got to remember my posture. This is a good thing I have videos. I have 3 video screens looking at myself, and I forget when I look at them, I'm sitting like a hunchback, so I got to sit straight. Okay, let's see. Ready to go says, hi, U.S. citizen wants to apply for green card for Iranian parents. How long? What is the fee in California? So the government fee depends on if they're doing adjustment of status or consular processing. I'm not going to get to fees here, but how long is the process? If they're doing it in the U.S., 6 to 12 months, or outside, 2 to 3 years probably. Brazuca says, consular interview just got scheduled. I'm a little bit afraid, a bit of a complicated case. Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. I don't have an answer for that, but schedule a private consultation to see what's going on. B says, how long is it taking for the I-130 for parents to get approved? I-130 petitions, this is telling the government the relationship really exists, is taking around 12 to 14 months on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. Mrs. Sweet says, hey, my husband's U.S. citizen got scheduled for biometrics today for I-130. Why? Recently, they've been doing this kind of nonsense, requesting the petitioner do biometrics as well. And it's just a fortunate part of the Trump administration. Emily said, I had a larceny last year, dismissed and then expunged, apply for citizenship, or wait for I-751 to be approved. You need to talk with an attorney in private to check the whole court case going there. The immigration department doesn't recognize expungement, so they got to see all the certified court record. If you don't have that, it's a major problem. And if it occurred before filing the I-751, even if the I-751, it could become a thing. So that's such a serious issue to be accused of larceny that you should get a private attorney to talk about that. Erica says, have you dealt with any DACA cases? Historically, yeah, we file DACA all the time. It's been a couple of years. We do renewals, but I guess that's the big news. Monday, they announced they're reaccepting DACA cases, and except for if you're in Texas, you can't get a work permit with it. So DACA is going to be picking up again. I probably should do some TikToks on that, but yeah, DACA is a standard thing we're doing for 10 years or 15 years. Hi, see it. User 87 says, do you think it's a good sign if your citizenship interview is scheduled very quickly? No, it's not a good or bad sign. It's just the process. Adis Beba says, dismiss cares is targeted to ICE for a green card holder. I'm not sure. Dismiss cares it is targeted to for ICE. I don't understand your question. Mora says, hello, do you recommend traveling on advanced parole? No, generally no. Morales says, sir, what does USCIS look for in a good faith marriage to remove conditions? Evidence that you're really married. You have finances together, joint address stuff, lease agreements, purchase a home, things sent to you in that joint address, insurance records together, bank records and finance records together, driver's licenses, same address, tax returns showing you're filing your taxes jointly. You might have children. You might have trips together. It's a long list of stuff that people could have. Let me answer your question. Azal says, I have to file for citizenship marriage based next year. Please advise. Azal, download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, citizenship marriage based. You're not getting citizenship, so I'm thinking green card. I'm not sure what. So if you're getting a green card based on marriage to U.S. citizen, download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. If you mean citizenship based on having a green card for 3 years, then download our citizenship guide at jqklaw.com/citizenship. Mrs. West asks, do you ever see a couple getting denied while they're expecting a baby? Not in my cases, but I've heard people have cases denied. Emmy says, all the court documents, no conviction. We still need to talk with the attorney in private to look over the court documents and what happened. It's not something I could advise on here, too case specific. KB says, I-485 submitted since April. What's going on? Nothing, just normal. Sir, do you have a Labubo? No, I don't. Erica says, hi, my parents applied for DACA back in 2020 in Texas. Can I adjust the address to Tennessee? If they move, then you can do that. Bazooka said, do you think the consular officer recognized the CBP expedited removal rescission? Most likely. That's pretty powerful. How did that happen? How did you get a rescission on expedited removal? They should, but, that's they can be annoying about it. You're welcome, Azal. Erica asks, we're planning on moving there and my husband and family there. Okay. Just when the move happens, you could update the record then, because you can't update before you go. You don't want them to accuse you of lying or something like that. As a reminder, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I practice U.S. immigration law, helping families, married couples get the green card and citizenship, as well as small investors doing E2 investor visas or creating a subsidiary in the U.S. L1 visas, and people with extraordinary ability, top in their field, EB1A and national interest waiver. Really focus on those, along with sometimes we'll have questions about other things such as reentry permits and stuff like that. Those are the bulk of the cases we handle. I'm headquartered in Los Angeles. My associates in Virginia, but all the cases we do are online based. So it's all done by email, uploading stuff, phone calls, and postage. So you don't have to worry about seeing this person. That's why we do all our consultations by video. And so be careful. If someone contacts you or talk with somebody, they say they're JQK Law, and you did a consultation with my phone or WhatsApp, that doesn't happen with us. Almost all our consultations, except for maybe 5% of them, are with my associate by video. Most of them are with me, and you're going to see me and talk with me. Now, when AI gets really good where they could fake me, you'll have to create a different system to know it's me. But there's a lot of fraud accounts. Be mindful of that. But if you want to schedule a private consultation, go to our website, jqqlaw.com. Click on the contact page, link on the top, or just type in jqqlaw.com/contact and fill in the boxes there so we have information about who you are, what you're looking for, and I could take you to the next step. I'll reply in the next 20, probably immediately, but within 24 hours. Explain the process for scheduling a private consultation, but we want to know what your case is. So I just had somebody schedule a consultation because like we need to talk. I'm like, okay, schedule a consultation. At first, I kept telling them, tell us what it's about. So they didn't tell us, schedule a consultation. In the questionnaire, they explained what it was, and it was something we don't handle. It was immigration to a foreign country. So I had to refund the fee. That's why we want you to tell us what it is first. So if it's not something we do, we don't waste your time. Motivation Journal says, hi, I'm unmarried, son of a U.S. citizen, and it's been 6 years. My I-130 petition is not approved. Is that normal? Yeah, there's no priority for those kind of cases because as an adult, unmarried child U.S. citizen, F1 category, that category is so backed up on the Visa Bulletin that they don't have priority in approving the I-130. So right now, they're approving cases filed in November 2016. If they're born, unless you're in Mexico or Philippines, it'll be different dates. But November 2016 for most of the world, and that doesn't really move like month to month. So it might stay in 2016 for many years. So if you're in 2019, 6 years ago, you filed it, even if they approve the I-130, nothing would happen with your case anyway. So it's not that much of a deal. Now, really make sure, I just did a video on this on YouTube, but make sure you update your address. So if you get any notifications and stuff like that, they could send, to respond properly. Sometimes they may be missing a document and send a request for evidence. If you don't get it or don't receive it, you don't respond in time, they'll just cancel your case. Sarah Harvey says, any chance Madney would come back? Madney, I think, is back right now. They're probably going to shut it down, but I've heard it was back, but I can't remember. I don't deal with that Madney too often. Baruska says, that's the only bad thing I have against me. It was hard to get it rescinded, though. I'm grateful. I'd love to see what you said to get rescinded. It does happen to get an expedited renewal rescinded, but it's very, very troublesome and difficult. The government never made a formal mechanism to do a rescission of expedited removal. And so if they do it, it's out of the kindness of the Border Patrol. So they could have just done something wrong and kept it like that. So that's incredible. Now, if they did rescind it, most likely it's okay, but I got to see what the facts were because if you admitted something on the record, I mean, generally, if CBP made okay, it's probably okay, but it's going to confuse the officers because it's so rare to happen. They're going to have to contact CBP, look into it, and kind of forget about your case. So there's problems. Potentially nothing will be all good, but potentially it'll create a lot of confusion and delays. But what are you going to do? You just got to push forward. Stylish says, are the I-130 forms for overstayers being approved? So what's happening with I-130 forms for overstayers is that they're scheduling interviews for some of them a lot of times, and then they're picking them up and sending them to deportation or detaining them and sending them to immigration court for deportation. So it's that's something that started on the Trump administration. It's very unexpected because it's never the case that would do that, especially if people have like these waivers, these 601 waivers. So it's a disastrous thing that they're doing. Very, very terrible, but that's what's happening. Danny says, in 2021, did DACA the biometrics appointment, but after it was canceled, good for a new ruling? No, if you had pending, then they'll bring it back, but I'm not sure where you were in your case. Neil Fari says, my mom is here on a tourist visa. Can I apply for her to get another one? And is there a chance it'll be approved for renewal? Now, you could request an extension over 6 months. That may or may not be approved, but for her to get a new visa, to be able, if she leaves to come back in, that's not going to be approved right now. They won't issue visas for Iranians. An Iranian tourist visa is only valid for like 3 months and it's one-time use, maybe sometimes 2 if they're nice about it. So like if you're European, you'd have a 10-year visa probably, so you wouldn't have to deal with this. But for Iranian, that visa is already cooked, it's done. So you could potentially apply for an extension for your mom so you can stay here longer, but that's it. Singh says, renewing your country passport inside the U.S. for approved asylum holders. I wouldn't recommend using your passport country for your asylum holder. Money says, how long did it take to asylum hearing interview after filing the application? 3 months to 15 years. It's all over the place. Maybe 10 years. 12 says, as a UK citizen wanting to move to the USA for work opportunities, what's going on with the H-1B uncertainty? Well, H-1B is if you have an employer that wants to file for H-1B for you, they have to pay a bunch of money, and so it's very complicated. But you got to look at other ways, maybe starting a small business in the U.S. with the E-2 visa. Maybe if you have extraordinary ability in your field, the O-1 visa, maybe study in the United States F1, and then you get a year of work afterwards. So we got to see what is possible for you. Stylish says, if criminal record is good, what happened with overstays during interview? They just pick him up for overstay. Motivation says, my dad filed I-130 in Maryland in 2019 by mail. Which service center is processing my I-130? You never know. They move it around depending on how busy service center is. So the location of the service center itself doesn't matter. You just got to wait for it. But you want to make sure you have a receipt, and if your dad changes address, it's updated and stuff like that. Elazar says priority PO is, I'm not sure what PO is. It's December, I think PD, priority date, but is December 24th, I-130 approved, I-45 paying 2 months. Okay, so your interview's pending. What should you do? Just wait. I don't know. I guess your case was going on, but it's only been 2 months. Just wait a little bit longer. Fatima says, I am due in February 2026. Applied for mom's B1, B2 visa to get interview appointment for September 2026. How can I get an emergency appointment so she can come before my delivery? Contact the embassy and ask them if they'll do an emergency appointment. That's it. See if they'll do it. Yeah, that's it. Steph says, can you give some explanation for the October Visa Bulletin for the F2A category? Well, it moved up pretty well. So the date of filing moved up in time, so that's helpful. And the final action date moved up as well, and they're allowing you to use that date. I'm not sure. Let me know specifically the explanation about. Amelia asks, hi, if someone gets I-130 denied and appeals get denied again and still have an asylum case 2026, can he be deported in the meantime? His deportation I mean, they're not going to deport you if you have an asylum case in the court pending. They have to get through that, but they could do nonsense by mistake or just don't care. But they're going to, you have a defense to deportation that you have a asylum court pending. So you have to go through that. Unless they find a 204C finding, fraud finding for marriage fraud, and that's a whole different story. Green card expired now with EOP hearing. What's going to happen? I'm not sure what an EOP hearing is, so I don't know. So, man, you don't have to ask your question 50 times. I already answered you. So if I see a question more times, I'm mute you, unfortunately. It says, over 2 years since I filed my I-45 130, got my work permit in AP, have pending asylum. We have to see what's going on in your case. That is long, but sometimes that happens. You also have an asylum case, so that creates nuances. We got to see what's going on there. There's got to be more research in your case, see what's going on. Maybe it's just normal. You have to wait longer, but maybe it'd be something that we have to be mindful for. Mulan says, what's happening with birthright in Florida? I don't know. Nadia says, how long does it take for an I-290B to be approved? They say the average review time is 6 months, but it could be longer, it could be shorter. I've had I-120Bs that are pending 10 years now. I just forgot about it. In the case, we just it worked out with clients okay with it, but it's a mess. It's a complete mess. All right, so we got a little bit left in the show. If you have some final questions, please let me know on Instagram. Marilyn, thanks for joining us. Jen says, how long does the K1 process works now? Well, first I'll download our guide, Jen, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. It goes through all this, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. The K1 visa process is not traditionally faster, even though people think it is, and the lawyers say it is. The first step of the process, the I-129F, is taking it from 12 to 18 months. And then you got to get an interview scheduled. Depends on the embassy you're dealing with. It could be 2 months, could be 2 years. And then once you enter the United States, eventually, you have to file for adjustment of status. It could be 3 to 12 months to get that approved. So traditionally, unless the relationship is really new and you barely know each other, getting married is usually both faster, or if not at the same time. But also, when you come to the United States, you're up and ready to go. You get a work permit and a social security number. You don't have to wait with the fiance visa. Get married, file for adjustment of status, green card, do an interview. So it saves a lot of the hassle. So 9 out of 10 times you don't recommend a fiance visa, but for some unique circumstances, it's the most appropriate thing to do. This is Siddhartha. Thanks for joining. All right. Salish says, I've been waiting since 3 years for my I-130 to approve, but haven't approved yet. How long does it take? Salish, I don't know what kind of I-130 you have. Some will take longer than others. Like, for example, if you're married to the green card holder, that 3 years is kind of normal. If you're a brother or sister case, 6 months to 15 years is normal, Gilberto says, green card holder, 2 years, can travel if divorced with his wife. I don't know. I have to see the facts of your case. So you recommend that. Generally, don't travel, but I have to see what's going on with your case. My internet's being a little shady right now, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Jen says, already filed for I-129F last May, waiting for N082. Okay, the immigration lawyers don't call it N082. That's like people that self-file use all these codes. We just say like the approval for the first step and then embassy step. So really just regular terminology. And you filed in May. Yeah, it's good. Fiancé visa is not faster. It's bad information that people put out there. Revolsa said, why do you think my green card marriage base canceled 2 times? I don't know why they would cancel it. That's kind of weird. I never heard of that happening. So I have to see what they told you. What they have to tell you why that happened. Say, I look at your history. So schedule a private consultation to see what's going on. Well, they canceled the interview 2 times. Unfortunately, that happens. It could be they lost the file. It could be they just got too busy. So it had happened before, so it's not fully abnormal. But so it doesn't mean there's something bad particularly. But it's just the office is busy, overwhelmed, stuff like that. I just had a case that had 2 oath ceremonies canceled until a third one for citizenship, and it's just weird. One here says, good evening to you too. Gerard says, how long does it take to get your receipt notice? For most cases, a week or 2, but some cases like VAWA and U visas, it's taking like 4 or 5 months. Riley said they say unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, that's probably it. I don't know the details of your case, and who knows, government, they might do bad stuff or scare you or something like that. But I've seen it happen before. It's not too like outside the norm. If y'all had a chance and you like this feed and what I'm saying, please leave a 5-star review on Google. Type in JQK Law in Google and just leave 5 stars. You don't have to make a comment or anything, but it helps. Every bit helps. Appreciate it. N6CR says, came in the Biden program, CHNV. They scheduled my green card review, then canceled it. So I've had a CHNV case approved and it was okay. But it might just be regular that they canceled it, but I don't know. I've seen your case and there's a little bit of bad luck involved too if one has to. God bless says, can one is being detained, can't get married? I think if you're detained, can you get married? Maybe it's complicated because you're detained and they might not believe the marriage, but it's not impossible. And Sarah says, okay, thanks, you're welcome. Nick says, how long does it take for the permanent labor certificate applied this month? We don't do permanent labor certificate office, but if they're doing EB2, EB3, it's like some states taking like 6 months to a year and stuff, but we don't do EB2 and EB3 perm cases. Gerard says, I use someone with expired green card as my joint sponsor. My green card application, is it okay? No, I don't recommend submitting that to someone with an expired document. They should have renewed it, got given this renewal. The government is going to get super tricky on these things. So that's something I wouldn't want to do. Nick says, thanks, you're welcome. All right, we have a few more minutes left. Vicky says, can I pay $100 for pending asylum submitted in January 2025? Yeah, they have a system that I pay $100 a year. I don't know exactly how it works because we don't do asylum in our office, but please pay attention and look into that. Ali Butt says, already filed for I-129F in June. How long have I wait more? I-129Fs take anywhere from 8 to 18 months average, so it's not good. In June, you got some time to wait. All right, so last couple of minutes. If you want consultation, go to JQK and download our guides, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Alternatively, if you're interested in naturalization citizenship, download that guide. It's at jqklaw.com/citizenship, jqklaw.com/citizenship. It's not one of those one-page things you download that's worthless. It's like 50+ pages. It goes through it all. I've downloaded other people's guides before, not just in immigration law or lawyers, but they're like, download our guide, and then we get it. It's like half a page, and it's just like, hire me, and that's it. I'm like, that's not it. Our guides have actual, meat meat on the bone. So you'll be amazed, and you leave a review for us, it'd be great. Neil Fire says, have you ever had a parent here whose tourist visa was renewed? Yeah, it sometimes happens. So they're gonna be more strict on it, but yeah, they do it. You just have to argue it, and there's luck involved too. All right, so we're about to end the show. Let's take 1 or 2 more last questions if you have them shooting out. But if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I recommend following us on YouTube. That's the best place when we have pop-ups we go to. U.S. Immigration Talk is the name of our YouTube channel, U.S. Immigration Talk, or JQK Law. Good idea, those will pop up. We have a clips channel and a regular channel. And then I have another podcasting program. It's called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. It's for other immigration lawyers, not for regular people. But that stuff could all help. Check it out on YouTube. All right, so one more question. If it pops up, we'll get it. If not, we're going to call it a day. I'm kind of dozing off myself. Long day for me. But I kept it cool, I think. I didn't fall asleep in the middle of it. Coco Bean says, have you had clients with misdemeanor charges under this administration got approved? I mean, we don't typically have clients with criminal history, but saying misdemeanor charge itself, it doesn't provide any helpful information. You got to see what the charges are, because some charges as misdemeanors are not a problem, some of them are. So, for example, if you got a misdemeanor for domestic violence with a weapon, even if it's a misdemeanor in California, for example, that's still a deportable offense. So that's that. Now, their second level is you might have a misdemeanor that's okay, but they could deny you based on discretion. I haven't seen too much of that happening, but that's going to be happening more and more. So we have to see what's going on. Misdemeanor under 200. So theft, we got to see if when it happened was last 5 years and what you did afterwards. Did you go get counseling? Did you get help? Have you done good things? Did you go for church? Did you get education? Are you helping people, giving a charity? So we got to see the whole picture. But we got to see what it is. Sometimes you got to file for green card. Sometimes you can wait longer. I'm not sure what the situation is where you're at. But that's something you definitely should have an immigration attorney with. The information is closed. That's good. So it's good, but I gotta get more details, and there's always discretion. Having said that, thank you so much everyone joining. Please come back again. Immigration lawyer John Khosravi will be back at wherever you're watching us right now for Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until next one, have a great one. God bless. Be safe. I'll see you then. Bye bye.